children of the night. What music, baby.
Master, you've come back.
I saw two red eyes staring at me. I felt his breath on my face.
The Sci-Fi Channel. Welcome to the Edge.
Kirk, Picard, together for the first time on the big screen. Get an insider's look at the new movie Star Trek Generations when Mike Jarek hosts Star Trek Return of the Next Generation, a Sci-Fi Channel exclusive. Coming up next.
You are watching the Sci-Fi Channel.
The inside word on Star Trek Generations is next, with the writers who decided to kill off Kirk, the captains who became fast friends, and the android who steals the movie.
The Sci-Fi Channel presents Star Trek Return of the Next Generation with host Mike Jarek.
We're at a Star Trek convention in Burbank, California, where the Trekkers are buzzing about the demise of their favorite TV series and the fact that the next generation is shifting to the big screen. But this is all par for the course when it comes to Star Trek fandom. Star Trek fans, affectionately known as Trekkers, are often regarded with both awe and amusement by the outside world. And though they may appear a bit overzealous at times, their undying devotion to Star Trek has kept the series boldly going where none have gone before for almost 30 years.
We're a team. We go to all the conventions together as much as possible.
Star Trek just brings out the best in everybody. They try to show equality for everyone, and I think that most Star Trek fans see that, and it brings everybody together. Everybody's a little more friendly, a little more happy to see each other. You see a Star Trek fan, you know, on the street, you don't know them, your first instant, hi, I am a Star Trek fan too, so I think that helps a lot.
Star Trek fandom not only survived the demise of the original series, it endured a decade-long drought before Star Trek The Motion Picture finally materialized in 1979.
It's incredibly resilient, and there's just so many different kinds of people involved who come out to the conventions. Obviously, the media focuses on the people with pointed ears and the costumes and all that, but if you look beyond that, you have your families and grandmothers and scientists and mathematicians and all sorts of people who come to conventions, and I think it's kind of cool. It just brings everybody together.
Star Trek fans virtually wrote the book on organized fandom in the United States. They initiated the first successful letter-writing campaign to save the original series. But when the next generation took TV by storm a few years ago, the Star Trek phenomenon grew exponentially.
I am part of a club that supports the Klingon Empire.
The wide popularity of the Next Generation cast has far surpassed the cult status of the crew from the original Star Trek.
His real name is Michael Dorn, but people like to call him Lord.
On any show you do, you get some fans, but not like this. Like when I do the conventions, it's like you're the best comedian in the world. Because, I mean, you get out there, and I'm a big ham anyway, and so I have a good time on stage, and it just is a wonderful experience. Because they like you. They genuinely like you, or like your character.
You gave up the Penn State Pitt game to come here?
You have to be very kind to your fans. I'm married to Jeannie Francis, who is a wonderful and famous actress. And I spent a lot of time watching her deal with her fans. That's long before I got this job. Her generosity and kindness has paid off. And their fans are no different than anybody else. They just happen to watch the show. 99.9% of the time, that's true. And those are pretty good odds.
Though The Next Generation was enormously popular with millions of TV viewers, not just Star Trek fans, Paramount chose to stop production on the show and send the entire cast off to moviedom.
Luckily, they still have Deep Space Nine, and hopefully Voyager will be able to take its place, but I don't know, I really liked it. It's kind of a bummer that it's off.
Even most of the Next Generation cast members were unhappy that the series ended while it was still so popular. but most have moved on to other projects and are looking forward to their reunion on the big screen every 2 years or so.
Star Trek Generations. The story of two bald captains in search of a good hairpiece.
Most loyal fans are beginning to get past the untimely end of The Next Generation. They're looking toward a positive future with more Trek movies and TV shows. And after all, isn't that what Star Trek is all about?
Now, an early version of the script for Star Trek Generations was leaked on the global computer network internet about a year ago, and that got zealous Trekkers and empath wannabes speculating. But really, there are only two humans on this planet who know the what, where, and whys behind the film's storyline. They are Brannon Braga and Ronald D. Moore, former producers on The Next Generation, and currently very hot Hollywood screenwriters.
You're a Starfleet officer. You have a duty.
I don't need to be lectured by you. I was out saving the galaxy when your grandfather was in diapers.
So Paramount commissioned two versions of the script?
They commissioned two scripts, two separate scripts. Brannon and I were asked to write one script in conjunction with Rick Berman, who's also producing the film. And then they also had Morris Hurley, who executive produced The Next Generation in its second season, to develop a separate script. So it wasn't like two versions of the same story. They were two separate stories.
What were some of the musts? What'd you have to have in this movie?
The only thing that was a must was getting Kirk and Picard together and doing it. And another stipulation was, let's not do regular time travel. Let's find something new and interesting, a new and interesting way to get these men together.
Were you two Star Trek fans before you started working on this show?
I was. As a kid, I was very into the original series. I loved it and, you know, really got into it. I grew up in a very small town, and there weren't conventions by us, and there wasn't much material in the early 70s. So I just sort of thought I was the only one that liked it. But, yeah, I was a fan of the original series.
But not you so much?
I've never seen the original series. I've never seen it. I've only seen a brief snippet of it, and that was where a midget was controlling Kirk's mind, and Kirk had a dagger.
Yeah,
and that's all I've seen.
That's Greek all togas. Plato's stepchildren, the fans know.
Understanding the obsession of Star Trek fans, do you hear their voices while you're writing?
We get a lot of letters, and we talk to the fans here at the conventions, and we definitely take into consideration what they say, but the bottom line is following our own instinct.
Okay, honestly, have either one of you ever dressed up as a Star Trek character?
Gosh. No, I've never dressed up like any Star Trek character.
I'm a little disturbed that you had to think about it, though.
But when we write, we do bad impersonations of the characters because you're trying to get their voices right. So if you were to walk by the offices at Star Trek, you'd hear lots of bad...
Patrick Stewart impersonation. Number one, set course for... You know, we just...
Yeah.
Captain, you know, we're always doing that.
We're a little bit actors, as well as writers.
So when Kirk and Picard met, who was Kirk?
I was Kirk, because I knew that character.
Well, the news is out now. You guys killed Captain Kirk. Why did you decide to do that?
This is our writing process. One of us is standing and walking, the other one's writing. And we sort of trade off as we get tired. And I'm walking and doing, and this happens, and that happens, and then Kirk says his final line, and then Kirk dies. And I just, suddenly it just sort of hit me that I just sort of killed a childhood hero.
Let me just say, I thought he had said Kirk flies. So I was here writing the sequence where Kirk takes off flying with Picard in his arm. And this whole thing, it was a big misunderstanding.
We had to go back and do it again.
Yeah, the second draft has turned out much different.
Yeah. Do you think Gene Roddenberry would like this movie?
I would like to think that Gene would appreciate it. You know, it's, it has a lot of elements in it that are similar to things that he used to put in the original series and at the beginning of Next Generation. It's a rousing action-adventure tale with a lot of humor. And Gene was always, he liked a lot of fun in the shows. You know, when Gene was with us, he always liked the characters to enjoy themselves and have fun and do more humorous kinds of things. So I think Gene would like it.
Are you guys ready to write the 8th Star Trek film?
It would be nice to revisit these characters again, because I kind of miss them.
I know.
You know, we were with these, this was like being with the family for a long time, and if we continue to do movies, it's going to be like visiting the family every couple of years for Christmas versus seeing them every night for dinner.
Next, why only 3 of the original Star Trek cast members were beamed aboard Star Trek Generations. And Rick Berman clears up persistent rumors about the film as this Sci-Fi Channel special continues.
This Sci-Fi Channel special is brought to you by Microprose Software, the makers of the PC games XCOM, UFO, Master of Magic, and Master of Orion.
Hi, I'm Warren James, and I'm playing a great new computer game, Master of Magic. I'm in the middle of a battle with magic and heroes and demons, but there's a lot more to this game than just combat. Master of Magic is the first computer game to combine strategic conquest and fantasy adventure. It's from the award-winning creators of Master of Orion. Uh-oh, looks like my hellhounds have been smoked. With Master of Magic, you can be the wizard. Anything is possible.
My name is Lisa Pretter, and I'm an emergency medical technician. My job is very stressful, and sometimes I get headaches. I take Anacin. There's a lot in my life between my children and my work, and I can't let a headache stop me from doing my job. I mean, we're talking emergencies where seconds count.
Anacin is so strong it gets rid of a headache better than any regular strength aspirin.
If someone needs help, they're not concerned with whether or not I have a headache. And Anacin lets me get back on the job and do what I need to do.
Strong, fast Anacin works better on your headache so you can work better.
The Sci-Fi Series collection continues.
I hope you'll be very happy here.
Presenting rare and special programs.
Witches? What you do with witches in these times?
It sounds like a classic case of poltergeist activity.
Your room is ready and waiting at the Hammer House of Horror. Begins December 5th.
Have you recently had a close encounter?
A cinema classic.
Close encounter with something very unusual.
Richard Dreyfuss.
What the hell is going on around here? Who are you people?
Terry Garr and Francois Truffaut in Steven Spielberg's UFO masterpiece, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, a Sci-Fi Channel special event hosted by Terry Garr. Today at 3 noon Pacific.
Star Trek, Return of the Next Generation continues.
A lot of fans at this Star Trek convention in Burbank, California are somewhat disheartened that a lot of the original cast members have been excluded for the feature. But this 7th Star Trek film is really a passing of the torch to the next generation. Only an abridged group of original cast members will be beamed aboard this time.
I believe wholeheartedly that there will not be a Star Trek 7.
This is a wonderful film vehicle to say goodbye.
I think everybody else felt exactly the same way that I did, that there's going to be another one.
Star Trek 6 is the last Star Trek.
Those were some of the phrases flying from the mouths of the original cast just as their 6th team effort, Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country, was making its way into theaters 3 years ago. But despite the overriding feelings of finality in 1991, 3 of those cast members boldly signed on for a 7th voyage.
I think that it's great that that they did manage to get a few of them in the movie, and it hopefully will make for a nice transition between, you know, the original series cast and the Next Generation cast.
It's a disappointment, I think, to the fans that not everybody will be in the movie.
Sure, we all know who's in the latest film and who's nowhere in sight. But it wasn't until we sat down with the screenwriters that a clear progression of casting events began to emerge. It seems that initially, the entire original cast was in, but then Leonard Nimoy jumped ship.
Spock's character was perfunctory, token, not really involved in the story in any integral way. You could lift the character right out of there and nothing would change in the movie. You could have somebody else say those lines. Just not meant to be in this case.
We tried to give everyone a little something. But once it wasn't going to be the complete crew, we felt it would be weird to have the complete crew minus one. That just kind of drew attention to that absence. So then it became, okay, well, let's just pick a couple and go with that.
With Nimoy gone, DeForest Kelley also opted out of the 7th endeavor. Ultimately, for story purposes, it was decided that Scotty, Chekhov, and Captain Kirk would represent the original crew. Sulu and Uhura were out altogether.
We didn't make the choice of who was in the final picture off of any kind of prejudice of which character we liked and which character we didn't like, or we don't like this actor and we like that one. It was just, we looked at him and we said, well, let's go with Scotty, because we'd had Scotty on the show once before and he's kind of broad and funny and this and that, and and Chekhov, and let's play those two. It's kind of something, the big guy and the little guy had some visual interest, and there was some nice interplay with Kirk and Chekhov.
But for a long time we considered Sulu too.
Yeah.
Because Sulu's a cool character. But in the end it was just those three.
Star Trek fans have a lot of questions about the movie. For instance, why were some of the key cast members called in at the last minute for reshoots, huh? Those sets and starship models, were some of them transferred from the TV series to the movie? How about the special effects? We hear some were recycled from earlier Star Trek films. Well, we sat down the producer, Rick Berman, and the director, David Carson, and demanded some answers.
We have two huge models of the Enterprise that we use for filming on the television series, and we didn't build, they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to build. So we use those same models for the Enterprise in the movie.
When we cornered producer Rick Berman for just the facts about certain aspects of the film's production, he was generously forthcoming at times. Then again, there were moments where he remained stubbornly evasive, even after pleading with him for the sake of the fans.
The star is going to collapse in a matter of minutes.
Optical effects, they heard, some of them were recycled from other movies.
One.
One.
There's one shot. I'm not going to say which shot it is. And I'm not going to say what movie it comes from. But there's one shot that, in the name of financial responsibility, we found the exact shot we needed from another Star Trek movie, and we saved ourselves some money and used it.
Star Trek Generations' budget was around $35 million, a fairly modest amount given the film's spectacular sets and visual effects. So how'd they do it? Well, for one, Paramount beamed aboard seasoned television director David Carson and cast him off on his maiden film voyage.
One of the ways that we controlled the budget was to shoot this, what I now think of as a vast epic of a film, in 50 days, which is a very tight schedule for such an enormous movie.
Why so short?
Because it kept the budget down.
Oh.
And because the theory was that because I had worked in television so much, I was inevitably going to be a faster director than anybody else.
Without my research, the trilithium is worthless, as are your plans to reconquer the Klingon Empire.
Tell me about the reshoot. Why'd you have to do it?
We didn't change any major story elements. There were rumors that we were going to change the outcome of Kirk. We were going to make Kirk's end in this movie more ambivalent. We were going to do this, we were going to do that, which was all just rumors.
It's not surprising the film's producer chose to be vague about what really happened. So we went to the captain himself and got the answer we were looking for.
We reshot the ending of Star Trek Generations because Captain Kirk didn't die nobly enough, and there wasn't enough grandeur in the ending. So we had spectacle, and we had trumpets, we had timpanis going, we had a lot of stuff going that we didn't have in the first. In fact, it cost $5 million in a $30 million picture, so figure that one.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, how did you die before? I heard you were shot in the back or something.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But that's what the audience said when they saw it. Right. So that's what was corrected.
Every ship which has approached the ribbon has either been destroyed or severely damaged.
The movie is loaded with special effects, courtesy of the wizards at Industrial Light and Magic. And one of the grandest effects is the incredible crash of the Enterprise.
Applause after the crash.
Right.
Like in The Fugitive, you know, when the train crashed, everybody applauded. Our folks want to know, computers, was it animation, models? What'd you do?
Models.
What was models?
It was all models. It was a model of the ship, a huge model crashing into a model terrain. Sometimes the model was projected from underneath and held from underneath, none of which you can see. Sometimes it was on wires. Sometimes, in fact, when the front end of it is crashing through the undergrowth, it was attached to a truck driving at 25 miles an hour.
Technical wizardry aside, the film ultimately rests on the shoulders of producer Rick Berman. After all, he's the man who was tapped by Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry to keep the flame alive.
When the fans go to see this film, what would be the ultimate compliment? What could they say to you to make you feel good?
I think the best compliment they could give us would be that it was a film in keeping with all of the other Star Trek movies. Obviously, Star Trek 4, the one with the whales, was the most successful, and I think the most critically successful, as well as the most financially successful film. And I would love people to compare it favorably with that.
Just ahead, the captains of the Enterprise and their earthbound alter egos. And we'll meet the man behind the gentle android Data and the actor who portrays the most vicious villain in the universe.
The temperature of your mouth, a steamy 98.6 degrees. The temperature of a winter fresh mouth. Introducing new winter fresh gum from Wrigley's. Yes. Icy cool flavor. Oh, yeah. Icy cool breath. That lasts. And lasts. And lasts. We can't wait for your reaction. Try new winter fresh gum for icy cool breath that lasts.
You might be confused by all the different types of pain relievers and all their claims, but your doctor isn't. They call one type NSAIDs, like aspirin, ibuprofen, and the latest pain reliever called Aleve with naproxen sodium. The pain reliever in Tylenol is different from all these, especially when it comes to your stomach. To varying degrees, every NSAID brand can sometimes cause the side effect of stomach irritation. Tylenol won't. The choice is clear. Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
I've just discovered something quite shocking. Most ordinary credit cards charge interest from the moment you buy something, if you carry a balance as little as $1. Thankfully, American Express has introduced a new credit card called the Optima True Grace Card. It has a low interest rate if you choose to extend payment, no annual fee if you use it 3 times a year, and you get an interest-free grace period on each new purchase, even when you carry a balance. It's a good thing. But don't just throw away your old credit cards. Recycle them. I'm retailing my swimming pool. Apply today. Call 1-800-4-OPTIMA. The sooner you apply for the new Optima True Grace credit card from American Express, the sooner you'll cut your interest charges. It's a good thing. And keep recycling those old credit cards. Apply today. Call 1-800-4-OPTIMA.
Star Trek, Return of the Next Generation continues.
Characters from the original series like Spock and Scotty have appeared on Star Trek Next Generations, but never before have 2 captains, Kirk and Picard, rubbed shoulders in the same galaxy until now. Well, of course, William Shatner and Patrick Stewart are used to being space honchos, but one can only imagine the clash of these monumental egos on the movie set. Sure, Kirk and Picard get along fine on screen, but what about Stewart and Shatner off screen?
I know there's been a lot of publicity, a lot of rumor and gossip that things were not amicable between us. And of course, that makes good newsprint. It sells papers. You know, who's going to sell a story saying Patrick Stewart and Bill Shatner get on really well? Yeah. In fact, we had a delightful time.
I was getting along very well with Patrick for a while. And then I discovered that he has been lying to me all along. He's from Brooklyn. And he acquired this accent somewhere.
He's faking it.
He's faking this English accent. He's really from Brooklyn, and I think that to be two-faced like that is disgusting.
All kidding aside, it appears the century-spanning captains of the Enterprise got along famously on and off the set. And it appears that William Shatner has no problem leaving the helm of the Enterprise for good this time.
Don't let them promote you. Don't let them transfer you. Don't let them do anything takes you off the bridge of that ship, because while you're there, you can make a difference.
Some of the fans, they heard that you died in the end and all this, and they're all upset.
If you think they're upset, how do you think I feel?
Do you have any emotion at all about it? I mean, you know it's a movie.
I'm okay.
It's common knowledge by now that Kirk dies at the end of the film. So fans might want to vent their anger about his death on the film's villain, Dr. Soren, and the actor who plays him, Malcolm McDowell.
They say time is the fire in which we burn.
It seems McDowell attended his first Star Trek convention recently and was just a little bit scared by how fanatical some Star Trek lovers can be.
The thing is, what sort of gets me a little bit ticked off is the fact that they don't care whether it's any good or not. They don't care about the artistic intent, whether it's good or whether it's indifferent or whether it's bad. They just get on to this Trekkie treadmill, and you know, hey, get a life, you know, get involved in the artistic intent of it, and you know, If it's good, then fine, support it. If it's not good, walk.
On a happier note, fans of the TV series will be thrilled to see that Data has a major role in the film. He is, after all, one of the next generation's favorite characters. And actor Brent Spiner has some good reasons why.
I think Data is a particularly accessible character.
You could say, I have a magnetic personality. Humor! I love it!
I think a lot of people who feel outside of the flow relate to this character. And I think also because he's an outsider who also is very productive, it's an attractive character. He's not a loser because he's an outsider. He simply is an outsider who's also functional.
Though it's not the film's main focus, Data's reaction to his new emotion, Chip, is truly one of the most entertaining and amusing aspects of the generation's film.
Oh, yes! I hate this! It is revolting! More? Please.
The laughing scene, not to give anything away, that was 2 days of laughing. I laughed for 2 solid days, take after take after take. And pretty soon, nothing's funny, you know? And certainly, as far as the crew was concerned, I stopped being funny about 10 minutes into it.
The Next Generation cast thoroughly enjoyed making Generations, even though it was 50 days of intense filming tacked on to the end of their last TV season. And how successful the film is will determine whether The Next Generation gets together on the big screen again.
Right now, I'm very happy not to be putting my spacesuit on every day. And I'm very happy not to be learning Star Trek dialogue, because, believe me, there is no dialogue like it in the world, and it is the toughest dialogue in the world to learn. But I have a suspicion that we may not have seen the last of Captain Picard, Commander Riker, Data, and so forth.
As parents, we know the importance of having life insurance for ourselves. But until recently, we'd overlooked providing life insurance for our kids.
That is until we called and started Globe Young American Life Insurance Plans for each of our kids. It's a $10,000 whole life insurance policy designed for children and young adults.
The Young American Plan protects our children's ability to be covered by life insurance. Once issued, the policy can never be canceled.
And during Globe's introductory offer, $1 is all it costs to start this $10,000 policy. And it's as easy as calling this toll-free number.
Find out for yourself why thousands of concerned parents call for information and applications about the Young American Plan every week.
Call Globe today.
For complete information and applications, call Globe today at 1-800-980-8080. Call 1-800-980-8080 now.
Everybody hates to eat and run. We'd rather take it slow. But the way this life is going, gotta grab your food and go. And when all that running round catches up with you at last, get yourself some Alka-Seltzer and you'll feel better fast.
For acid indigestion or heartburn with headache, nothing makes you feel better faster than Alka-Seltzer.
Get yourself some Alka-Seltzer and you'll feel better fast.
Ooh, Nabisco frosted wheat bites? Uh-huh. A frosted cereal? Oh, yeah. Like it? Definitely. Just don't let Mom catch you with them. Mom gave them to me. Our mom?
Moms love Nabisco frosted wheat bites. Sure, they're lightly frosted outside with brown sugar inside, but they're the only frosted cereal with original Nabisco shredded wheat.
The same mom who says be here by the time I count to 3, or that's her.
Nabisco frosted wheat bites, the frosted cereal even moms love.
That concludes our special look at the return of The Next Generation. And no matter how well the movie does or what people think of it, the fans simply want to be a part of the phenomenon that is Star Trek. And you know, it is a pretty fun ride. For the Sci-Fi Channel, I'm Mike Jarrett.
Do you remember your first encounter? Make contact with Steven Spielberg's UFO masterpiece as Terry Garr hosts a true cinema classic. Richard Dreyfuss stars in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, today at 3 p.m. Eastern. Now stay tuned for The Magician next on the Sci-Fi Channel. coming up on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Welcome to Comlink Satellite Service. You have selected Faster Than Light News Feed.
A triumphant Perriep re-entered the NAU administration today, and he sounded like Madeline Clark's #1 fan.
President Clark's experience has turned her into a big supporter of the reality point of view. I'm proud to stand by her and help this government get real.
Also still by Clark's side is our leader, Kyle Swan. The two seem inseparable, appearing together at all official NAU functions. Perhaps Swan is melting more than Senbank's ice. More anti-Swan bidfeety has popped up on the VR net, raising the possibility that Swan may lose control of his group.
This has been an FTL News Feed.